read the mission statement. Let me turn the mic on there. Our mission statement at Center Grove is we develop knowledgeable, confident, and responsible citizens through inspirational and innovative learning opportunities. If you will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. You will notice there's only 4 board members. This morning we only needed a quorum. Mr. Daniels was not able to attend this morning. Our next order of business is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we amend the agenda to move public participation section 5 to under action items.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do I have a second on that?
I second.
Thank you, Mrs. Counts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Motion passes 3-1. Public comments regarding agenda items. Okay, we've moved that. So let's go down to our action items this morning. Our first action item is to approve the 2021-2022 Master Teacher Contract. Dr. Arkanoff?
Thank you, Mr. Russell. This morning, I'm recommending that the board approve the Master Teacher Contract agreement with the United Teachers Association of Center Grove, and this will be the second time you've heard the information, and Mr. Taylor's going to provide you with some additional information.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. This is the required second reading of this and the adoption of this action item. I'm just going to read the highlighted notes. This is a total of an 8% increase for our teachers. It's comprised of a 5.85% increase to the salary schedule, row advancement, which is about 1.5%, and then the other percentage comes out of column advancement for teachers with new degrees, and then we added a row and dropped a row from the overall scale. Our new starting teacher salary will be $44,169, and our new top one will be $85,298. We have a 3.5% increase for ECAs, a number of ECA adjustments, and some changes to the health insurance plan to increase premiums both on the employer and employee share. Other than that, we had some language options. I do have 2 individuals I'd like to call up as part of my presentation this morning. Our co-presidents of UTAG, the United Teachers Association of Center Grove, Ms. Peggy Young and Mr. David Lawson. I'm going to make a few comments.
Gentlemen first.
It's never boring. It's never boring. Good morning. We wanted to stop by today and personally thank you for what is an historic increase in compensation. Several years ago, we thought 4.3% increase was something we would never see again. Our board and our district administrators outdid themselves this year. Teachers are truly grateful. And to be honest, they needed something. We're all working very hard to do this job, but we all know being a classroom teacher these days is not easy. The last 18 months have shown us challenges we never anticipated. They were challenges many were never trained for, and we all seemed barely prepared for. Teachers also needed something because many are afraid. They're afraid of doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, using the wrong word, sharing the wrong personal opinion, handing out the wrong essay. Teachers are being bullied, hectored, shamed on social media. Some are talking openly about looking for other employment, about leaving the profession, about simply not returning. And personally, I think it's going to get worse. We have a looming human resources problem. Effective teachers, good people who care about kids, are leaving this profession and this district because they fear our community. This increase is a welcome gesture of support and appreciation in a very difficult time. Thank you for acknowledging us and for doing what you can with the resources available. And finally, we have to get this in here. we'd like to thank Rob Daniels, who always brings the magic and the money every single time. He bargains on behalf of the board.
Well, first, thank you. We are so appreciative of the relationship we have with the board and the administration. It has not always been this way, so thank you. We know we don't always agree, but we are professional when we disagree. Teachers are not only afraid, they are tired. More and more is being placed on their shoulders. And David's correct. Teachers are looking elsewhere for jobs outside of education. We look forward to a continued dialogue and great relationship. And off to school we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That's all.
Any other comments, Mr. Taylor?
No, just to point out again, this has been included in the budget that Dr. Gabriel presented Thursday evening.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments?
No, it's unfortunate to hear that, but about teachers
Yes, it is.
sitting outside.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They have to get to work. Okay, seeing as there's no discussion, do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2021-2022 teacher contract with the United Teachers Association of Center Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Unfortunately for Mr. Daniels, this is his first year in negotiations, so he's got a tall bar to get over the next time around.
Okay, our next order of business is to approve the raise for level A, B, and C employees. Dr. Arkanoff?
Thank you.
Computers are wonderful when they do what they're supposed to.
Okay, well, this morning, I'm recommending that the board approve the increases for levels A, B, and C, and some level D salaries, wages, and schedules reflected. And Mr. Taylor will provide you with some additional information.
Thank you very much. This is also something we like to do after we're able to settle a contract. This year, we are differentiating those increases, and for levels A, B, C, and some level D employees, we'd recommend a 7% increase. This also includes administrators and all permanent support staff, and some coaches who are outside of the bargaining unit will receive the 3.5% increase consistent with the ECA schedule increase. All of these raises would be retroactive to the first employee workday on or after July 1st, 2021. I'll bring a revised statement of benefits to the board at the October 21st meeting that'll detail and outline these changes and some of the salary and benefit changes that we mentioned along with the teaching contract. These salary increases have been built into the 2022 budget, and they're welcomed very greatly by our employees who are across all of the pay scale. So this will really help us in bringing our lowest hourly rates up above $15 an hour. We'll still have a few, but those will typically be temporary or short-term positions. This will make us more competitive if you've driven down 135 lately. And so we are excited to be able to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Speaking of that, how are we doing with bus drivers?
We're okay. We're struggling like everyone else, but I'd say our struggle's been a little lighter up until recent. So
And I
we've
know we
lost
got
a few lately.
We got a great crew. We have many long-term bus drivers.
And Ms. Pitts is working on that very, very hard. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Taylor? Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we amend level A, B, and C and some level D salary and wage schedules such that eligible employees will receive a 7% salary or wage increase effective July 1, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Counts. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Jason.
Taylor. Our next action item is the second reading of proposed policy revision. Dr. Arkanoff.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. You have in front of you the policy revision of 0167.3. This was presented to you at the last board meeting. Per your request, Mr. Russell, for some clarification, the adjustments were made to item B, anyone having a legitimate interest in any of the action items of the board may participate during the public portion of the meeting. And so the clarification was the intent of the board to have public input on actions taken by the board. So these words should clarify that meaning of this policy. So that's the change. This will be your second reading, so you can approve it at this point.
Excuse me, how come we haven't had public
Thank you,
comments
Dr.
on any of these
Arkanoff.
items already?
Excuse me, there is no comment at this time.
No, it was item number 5, you skipped right over it on the agenda.
Please be quiet.
Please go by your own agenda.
I amended the agenda to move it to under
We
action
amended
items.
the agenda to move public speaking.
Okay, so I guess we're playing by our own rules today.
One more comment, I'll ask you to leave. Okay. Do I have any questions on the second reading of proposed policy revision?
Jack, I do. Was there also an amendment to the, must register from 4 days to 10 days as well? Was there anything else on this document that was,
No, that happened back in March
okay,
when the board did a mass new policy approvals, and that policy was changed from 4 to 10 days.
okay. It just wasn't updated on that site.
Correct, the website didn't get updated by Neola.
Thank you, Mrs. Counts. Any other questions or discussion?
Rich, I'm just curious on the, I know I already asked you this question, but just the, adding this to only public comments on action items, was there a reason behind that, or is there, you just want to kind of narrow the scope of basically public comments from things that we're only taking action on that night? For example, we don't need public comments on the Pledge of Allegiance and things like that.
Correct, in discussion with the board was how, we didn't necessarily want to get, folks to come up and sign up just to speak on what kind of weed killer we're using when we wouldn't even know, or something like that. Or just kind of picking out things like the national anthem or the mission statement and just kind of taking a random, large topic.
So the public will still be able to address the board on items that we're voting on that evening?
That's correct.
Okay.
Anything else here? Thank you. Do I have a motion for this item?
Mr. President, hang on, let me get back to the motion. I move that we approve the policy revision as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Do I have a second? I will second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay, I'm there. I don't think I think there's a lot of question out there just because of what's on the website versus what was presented the last time. So, I don't know.
Okay, Mrs. Counts? Mr. Hubbard?
I was a yay.
Okay. Motion passes 3-1. Thank you, everyone, for the discussion. Just quick announcements, and we'll go to public speaking. October 21st is the next board work session, and that starts at 2. And then October 21st, that evening, will be the regular board meeting. Okay, we will move to our public speaking. Our first speaker is Mr. Collins.
You ready?
State your name and address, please.
William Collins, 3865 New Battle Lane.
Mr. Collins, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take the mask off so we can understand you.
Okay, it was your rule. Okay. First, the agenda thing, it's ridiculous. You know it is, I know it is. This is just another one of your attempts to limit the voters and the community's means of addressing issues that we don't agree with. There are many, you know that. That's why you don't want us to speak on them. There's been many other ways that we've tried to speak to the board. You've tried to minimize and reduce and silence us on every single one of them, including our way of being placed on the agenda, going from 4 days to 10 days. And even when we submit several weeks in advance, you deny every single one of those. With Mr. Daniels being an attorney, you might want to consult him as well as Mr. Arkanoff's attorneys.
Please leave the names out.
Okay, the superintendent's attorneys, he puts them on every single email that I have with him these days. Legal verbiage is very specific. Verbiage saying shall is not a suggestion, it is a legal command, like you shall place us on the agenda. Should is a suggestion, may is discretionary, but shall isn't an option. You shall place us on the docket to be discussed on an agenda. You might want to consult an attorney. Lastly, teacher pay. I see that you guys are raising it by an average of 8%. That's super. Unfortunately, areas like Clark Pleasant, they've been doing this for years. I find it sad and appalling that teachers that live in this district have to leave our district to go to Clark Pleasant, Warren, IPS, Franklin to get competitive pay and benefits. And I also see that you're raising the premium about 12.7% on average. That's appalling. There's no reason why teachers have to go other places to get comparable benefits to people that work at Burger King. All of you should be ashamed. There's no reason that you should approve a contract that pays our teachers slightly more than what they're already making to make what some of their competitors are making more than already. You should be ashamed of yourselves. They need more than that. And you need to hold the teachers that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing accountable. Maybe if you got rid of some people like SEL coordinators that no one wants, you could afford to pay them more. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Our next speaker, Kara Cecil.
My name is Kara Cecil, 5092 Wendell Drive, Barbersville, 46106. I'm glad to be here this morning at 7:30. I had to get through a high school line. I've already been to the gym, but I learned something. This is the bylaw that is available on Center Grove School Board website, which takes you to board docs. This is the bylaw 0167.3 regarding public participation. This one was approved March 7, 2012. When I compare that with the bylaw, also marked 167.3, that has been circulated for months, there are several distinctions. I want to read them for you. Comparing to the bylaw available online, the one circulated and voted on today says you have to have 10 days notice, that you must provide a copy of the comments that will be shared to the board when you are requesting to be on the agenda, that public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business, providing, however, the public participation may be prohibited at any meeting that must be conducted remotely or virtually due to an emergency declared by the federal, state, or local officials. Please note that it was in the paper that this school board has considered moving to virtual meetings. If they do that, per their bylaw that they're circulated, we just voted on, they can omit public participation. When you turn it over, the presiding officer may, these are new, prohibit public comments which are frivolous, repetitive, or harassing. Request any individual to leave the meeting when the person behaves in a manner that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's behavior interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. And the presiding officer may waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for the protection or I assume that's a typo, just so you know, protection or privacy of the administration or the board's business. This is what they've been circulating for months. This is what was just voted on. This is what's available online. Despite what both of these say, I have made a formal request meeting all of these requirements to be on the agenda and been denied. I want the board to know that we are trying to follow these rules. I've printed them, I've read them, I followed the rules, and you still denied me. We have had rallies, we have signs, we have emailed, we have called. Public participation is important if you want this school district to be a partnership between community members and the elected officials. This bylaw, these proposals limit parent or community member interactions in these meetings. They are more restrictive. You're not even following them, though. I want you to know that we see that. We know what's happening here. It's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cecil. Any other order of business? Meeting adjourned.